So I think we're ready to finish off chapter 3, and we're going to look at conditional statements. So a conditional statement, well, that's all about this if statement you have here. And after the if, there's a condition that's either going to be true or false. Is it raining today? Maybe it is, maybe it's not. So let's take a closer look at what we have written here. I'm going to paste that into WordPad, and let's look at the if statement. So that is the condition part of the if statement, and it's either going to evaluate to true or false. So does it evaluate? How does it evaluate? Well, if we look right above it, we're doing a variable assignment. We're saying make the variable answer equal to left. And now we're testing it. Is it equal to left? If it is, then this line gets executed. Well, let's make it false so it doesn't get executed. And we can do that by changing our variable assignment answer equals right. So now we're going to do our test. Is this condition true or false? It's false. Now when it's false, this line, this print statement, will not be executed. A few things to notice here. This line is indented, and the indentation tells us that it belongs to the line right above it. Okay, and if we don't have the indentation, it means the print statement is not part of the if clause. So let's go ahead and see what we can do here. So we just have to answer yes or no. Will the message be printed? Well, we can see we've set the variable equal to left, and now we're testing it. Is it equal to left? Yes, it is. So therefore, the message will be printed. So we can safely say yes, the message will be printed. And in the next section, we have a function. In fact, we have two functions. Function 1, I'm just going to call it function 1, and function 2, and we're using the functions down here. Those are called function calls. We have a chapter on function calls, so I don't want to worry too much about it right now. What really matters right now is are the conditions. Is something evaluating to true or false? So let me just reset this to make sure we have all the information the way it was originally. So let's put something in here that will evaluate to true, something we know is true. How about 5 equals 5? Well, that is certainly true. So when we call this function, we will see this message in the console. Likewise, on the second condition, let's put something else that's true. And I would say the following is true, not false. Well, the opposite of false is true, so that will evaluate to true. So again, what's happening here? We are calling functions. Here are the functions, function 1 and function 2. And the function will return a message, success 1, success 2, but it will only return the message if the condition evaluates the true. So we don't need to worry too much about functions, just focus on the condition part. In section 13, we have two definitions here. Let me just reload the assignment. We have two definitions here, one for the Black Knight and another function definition for the French soldier. And what we have to do is we have to return false if the functions evaluate to false. So let's look at this carefully. So in the first function, the Black Knight, if the answer is "'tis but a scratch," you want to return true. Otherwise, return false. So we'll put a false statement in there. And we do the same thing with the next function if the answer equals, if the condition is true, go away, then return true, otherwise return false. Okay, so let's take a good look at the structure here. Okay, exactly what's going on, because we're not really interested in function calls. We're more interested in the if structure. We'll copy and paste this into WordPad. So if some condition is true, okay, let me highlight it. You're going to do something. What are you going to do? You're going to do the line that is indented. Return true or do action 1, whatever action 1 must be. Else or otherwise, well, you're going to do something else, and we'll call this do action 2. So whenever this is not true, you're going to be doing action 2. So let's see what we have to do here. I think it is set up to go. Let's click run, and we can now go to 14. And then 14, we have a function definition, okay, greater, less than, equal 5, and we're feeding in an answer, and we're going to return 1 if true. We're going to return something else. We're going to return -1 if the answer is less than 5, and otherwise we just return 0. So let's look at the instructions here. Okay, so we want this, the first line, to equal 5. Okay, so we write answer equals 5. And then in the else if part, we want it to evaluate to true if the answer is less than 5. Oh, actually, I made a mistake up here. It should be greater than 5. And the else if part should be less than 5. So let's put that in there. Answer is less than 5. Okay, and then finally a return when it's exactly equal to 5. So let's go ahead and run this, and we get -1 because it's less than 5 in the first case, 0 because it's equal to 5, and +1 because it's greater to 5 in these function calls. Now I want to take a closer look just at the if part. I don't really care about the function call. Let's just look at the if part only. And this is the important thing for us. So if some condition is true, do action 1. Else if. You see that else if there? Well, else ifs always have a condition. So there's another condition. Then we're going to do some other action. We'll call this action 2. And then at the very end, we have an else. Now the else will only be executed, this part in the else will only be executed if everything above it evaluates to false. So in other words, the first condition is not true, the second condition is not true, then we have no choice. This part at the very end is going to occur, and we'll call that action 3. Now, this is important here, so pay close attention. When you're building an if-else else-if statement, you have one if part, you have as many else-ifs as you want, so I could put more else-ifs in there, okay? So we can put, you know, another condition in here, some other condition, some other test, and we'll have an action 4 Okay, we can have as many else ifs as we want. However, there can only be one else. Now, do you have to include the else if and the else? No, you don't. If you want, there doesn't have to be any else if or else. You can remove all that. You can just have if some condition is true, carry out an action, and if the condition is not true, no action will take place. So that is a summary of if, else if, and else. So what do we have to do here? We have to, I think that's done. So let's go to the last section here. And this is the big else if. And I'm just going to get it started, and I'm sure you can finish it off. So a student gets a grade of A if the mark is 90 or higher. So let me just do a couple of these. Okay, so if grade is greater than or equal to 90, okay, he gets an A. If it's between 80 and 89, he gets a B. So I'll do this line here. So else if the grade is greater than or equal to 80, and don't forget the and part, and the grade is less than or equal to 89, he gets a B. So you can finish that off. They tell you what it needs to be in each case. You just simply replace the underline. As you're doing this, pay close attention because your final assignment, your challenge assignment today will be very similar to this. In fact, you're going to be doing a copy and paste of this code, and you will be modifying that in the challenge assignment.